what separates people that have a 9 to 5 and are aiming for something bigger are what they do outside. Welcome back, you guys. My name is Jasmine.
My name is Matthew Gunn.
And this is the 1% Better Everyday podcast where we talk everything entrepreneurship, business, lifestyle, mindset. And this is actually the first episode of 2026. And we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We usually shout somebody out at the beginning of every episode. So please make sure to leave your guys' comments on our Instagram, on our YouTube, if you haven't been following us already. But let me go ahead and shout out the last person that commented on our reel. And Transparent Podcast Co. said, well said, when you were talking about how sometimes the only way that you can teach people is by showing them through being a leader.
Yeah, by actions, by acting.
By executing.
Yep, by executing.
And it's funny that you said that because today one of my clients and me were talking about this, and we have so much to talk about, so let's just get into it. But we were talking about this, and one of the things that he said was that he's really good at executing and knowing how to put the pieces together. And so it kind of just made me realize something that you always said. At the end of the day, people are going to take action or they're not. And so it just made me realize that I think the people that really, and this sounds so, what's the word? Like it sounds so, I guess, like small or just so simple to do, but it's hard because not a lot of people can do it. But at the end of the day, you know, the people that are really successful are the people that know how to execute something all the way through.
Yeah.
Are you a service-based entrepreneur that provides some kind of service, but you don't know how to create content in order to convert someone from following you into a paying client? I'm going to tell you exactly what to post in order to start generating more leads, attract high-paying clients, and get more DMs than you can possibly answer. I will help you how to find your niche, how to find your target audience, and craft offers that will attract top buyers every time you go to make a post. Text me content to 513-516-7332 to learn more on how you can get mentored by me for only $99 a month.
Or get a team together that can execute the idea. Because that's how you. I was thinking about that today about scaling and how people are unable to scale. Like that's how people to go from working what you're doing as a part-time gig to going to making half your income from your 9 to 5 to replacing your income from your 9 to 5. You have to scale, right? And some people are unable to scale because they don't take the small actions that it takes to build around themselves in order to increase the revenue or increase clients. Because one thing that you've always been good at is recognizing like when a business needs parts, right? And like having systems and then having specific apps and then having leads and stuff like that. You know, those things that you recognize in a business. Like most people can't even make it past like that first system or that second system in order to scale. And that's why it's so hard, because it's like the smallest tiny little things that they're just unable to do.
Yeah. And I think that's why we talk so much about running a business on this podcast, because running a business really does teach you so much about yourself, but so much about life. And going back to that, one thing I realized today was that the more that you learn, the more that, you know, something that we were talking about recently that Kobe said in an interview is that when you practice and you're always prepared, or you're kind of prepared ahead of time, you will never get nervous because you've already done that thing 100 times. And so it's just a reminder even to myself sometimes, because I feel like I'm definitely the type of person, because I don't know if it's because I'm a woman or it's just who I am. I'm definitely more emotional, where sometimes I get in my head and I create imposter syndrome within myself because I'm comparing myself to other people that have either been in their industry for longer, that are in a different journey. I don't know their ups and downs. And so it goes back that look at social media. Something that I listened to recently in Kim's masterclass was she was saying that she looks at Instagram like a magazine. Like go on Instagram and go on the internet and find it as a way of inspiration instead of comparing yourself, because you don't know those people's journeys. But going back to what you were saying, I think the more that you master every department in a business, the better you get. And so that's something that I was thinking about today was my dreams are not big enough anymore. I feel like I'm to that point where we said this in another episode, every single time that you master a level, you're gonna start hitting like a place of comfort in terms of you're getting comfortable because you already know these skills. You already know what to do. You already have basic understanding. And I think that's what separates the good people from the great people, because the good people are gonna be like, oh, well, I already know a little bit. Why should I get better? You know, I'm already good enough. You know, that's good enough for them. But the great people are gonna be like, you know what? Let me see where I can refine things. Let me see where I can get better. Let me see where I can go above and beyond. And let's just be honest, most people don't want to do that. Most people, we've talked about this, whether you have a 9 to 5, that's great if you have a 9 to 5, but what separates people that have a 9 to 5 and are aiming for something bigger are what they do outside of their hours from their 9 to 5. If you go home and you're working on your side business, if you're doing something, it just goes to show that you really care about it because you're putting in the action.
Yeah, and the time too, because a lot of people don't want to invest their time. Like time is such a big thing. It's such again, that's a social construct that's made up, but it is real. You can take advantage of the space that's given to you when you're not doing anything. Like a lot of people don't realize how much time they're wasting throughout the day when they are not looking forward to doing anything. But when you need something done, you're like, damn, man, I'll never have enough time in the day. It's because you don't make the time.
Yeah. And I think going back to that, also one thing that I've been realizing lately is that I think sometimes, and this is just from my perspective, again, I don't want to say that it's just women, but I have noticed that sometimes women are more, and this is a whole other topic, but are more emotional in terms of, it's almost like we're afraid to ask for what we want because we will be seen as, oh, well, she wants too much, or who is she to ask for that? And that's just something that I realized even within myself. And so that's why I said, I don't know if it's like a woman thing or if it goes back to culture, because another thing that I have realized recently is that, and this is just my opinion and what I've observed, Latinos have such a hard time asking for what they want and demanding their worth. And that's what I want to get into. And I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts down below. I mean, if you're Hispanic, if you're not, let me know down below. Why is it so hard? And this is just something I've noticed with the people around me. It's like, why is it so hard for Latinos to ask for their worth? Is it because like we don't feel like we're adequate? Is it because we don't feel like we know enough? I know for me, that was always a struggle where I felt like I didn't know the language. I didn't know enough information. That sometimes I stepped in these rooms, I'm like, well, who am I to tell them what to do when I'm not even fully American, or I'm not even quote unquote, like I wasn't from this country, if that makes sense. So I'm curious to know if other people have that experience, but I think honestly, like you said, going back to time is a social construct, anything that you put in your head is a social construct. I feel like I've learned that to this degree and to this point in my journey, where there's a quote that said, or there was like a tweet or a reel the other day that I saw, and it was like, don't put me in your cage. And it's true, because at the end of the day, the only person that will put limitations and put you in a cage is yourself. And so some people say they don't have time, and other people make the time. Some people say that, they're not worthy of those positions. And I could have said the same thing. I could have said, oh, well, I don't know English too well. I have really, really broken, just my language is broken from the way I speak, that could have held me back. But I feel like because I embraced it and I just learned how to get better, I've never let it hold me back. And now I'm like, okay, I'm getting comfortable where I'm at. How can I dream bigger? And I'm allowed to dream bigger. You're allowed to dream bigger, and it's okay to want something that you've never had before. And that's what I wanted to bring up, is that my client said something today along the lines of, I've had this vision for the last 40 years and I already know what it's going to look like. And I thought to myself, I'm like, that's so cocky to say. But at the same time, there's something about men where it's like, if they want something, it's in their head, like from such a young age, and they just go after it with so much confidence. So how do you know your worth?
I think that's, well, over time, you just learning yourself. And again, that's another small thing that people are not doing is this. When I say about knowing your worth, and the small details is like putting in the work on getting better within yourself, and then also learning new skills and how does people value your skill set and how you help. At the end of the day, you really, and to me, this is what I learned in 2025, 2024, 2023 is how much can I help other people achieve their goals, and how can I make sure that I'm giving my all, my best to them, because if they don't achieve what they're trying to get to with the help of me, then I'm not doing them justice, and then there's no value in that, right?
Yeah.
So you don't present any value when you're not helping out anybody, and that's where the conversation that I keep seeing right now, and conversations that we have regarding social media, and I just made a YouTube video today about talking about AI. It's like, all of this stuff is cool, but if we're not like providing any actual value to people, then we don't have no value, because we're not helping nobody achieve their goals or their dreams.
So are you saying that your value comes from the worth that you give other people?
Yes, 1,000%.
I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts. I think that can be a little controversial sometimes, because some people look at that as, why do you always have to give in order to have value?
Because we've been blessed to receive it. Like, we should always be concerned about helping other people out, or making sure other people are achieving their goals that they're trying to achieve. We're not in the business of making money. We're in the business of people transactions. Like that's how the world goes around, people helping people. If you're not helping nobody get to where they want to get to, or just simply being kind to somebody, and that makes somebody else's day, trust me, that stuff comes back to haunt you, no matter how rich you are.
Yeah, you just said so many good things in that. But me and my client were talking about that today, about how important it is to build relationships. And this is exactly why we created this podcast, is because I want this to be a safe space for us to talk about anything that maybe we're not good at, maybe things that we need to get better, maybe things that we need to improve, because that's truly how you get 1% better every day. But something that I realized today was that, I mean, you even told me that. You were like, you need to get better at building relationships. And I feel like it's so true. Sometimes you can become so focused in your own journey, or just like, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? That you kind of almost forget, like, why did you even start in the first place? And you're right. It is because we want to help people. We want to help other businesses. But a lot of it in business really is just understanding people, understanding how humans work, understanding how they interact, what they believe in, what makes them buy the things that they buy, and everything goes back to culture. But at the end of the day, it's one language. It's human universal language, like knowing how to understand human beings.
Matt, I need your help growing my social media audience.
All right, guys, if you need help growing your social media audience, make sure you text 602-390-7002. Once again, it's 602-390-7002.
But you said something else I wanted to touch on.
Well, helping businesses and helping our family, because let's be honest, like, this life that we live in is amazing, and we get to do cool shit. So why not build a family so you can do cool shit? But guess what? This cool shit costs a lot of money. So we need to help people to get money to do cool shit with our family.
Yeah.
Like your parents, they got their gifts today. Like, that's so. Did he send it? I need a picture. I need pictures. Your mom with her fit on. And Dad
I'll
with
show you a
jersey
picture.
on.
She
Okay.
loved it. Yeah,
Okay,
she loved
good,
it. She
good,
said it
good.
was thick.
And more importantly, it's because I've been amazing at helping out people this year, I'm able to help out family. Like, I'm able to do something and give something back to family that's something that I've never been able to do, or something that they've never received before.
Yeah. No, but something I want to get better at in 2026 is just learning how to listen more. I feel like that was one of my goals in 2024, and I was kind of working on it, and then I just stopped. And I feel like that's what that clicked for me today. That again, going back to what you said, I want to break this down because there's a couple of like layers into it, but in order to build relationships, you have to learn how to listen. You have to learn how to be present. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get so busy or egotistical on what do we need that we forget to give back. So that's just something that I've just been reminding myself this year is how can I help other people first? How can I, pour back into them, listen to them, just be there for them. And sometimes just being there for someone is what's going to help you build that relationship. And I want to go back to knowing your worth. Going back to knowing your worth, I think there's 2 layers to this. Obviously there's one in business where I feel like you don't really know your worth until you prove it to yourself. So I don't know if that's kind of what you're saying, but some people are like, oh, well, I don't even know my worth when I haven't even done anything. Like, let's just say someone
you got to be successful or something.
Yeah, like let's just say someone is starting a business, but they haven't really done anything. Like you have to put in the reps and you have to practice. So that way, like we said before, the more you practice, the more you're consistent, the more you're already prepared, the more that you start developing your confidence by doing the reps.
Yeah, you got to put in the reps.
And that's how you know your worth. But I also wanted to go into the other side of the personal and the emotional aspect of it where, so many human beings are conditioned to be born, pay bills, and some people don't enjoy their life outside of that.
Oh, no, hell no.
And so it goes back to know your worth and know what you're bringing to the table in terms of sometimes it doesn't always have to be monetary. Maybe what you bring to the table is that you're a really good human being. You have a really good heart. You have a really good soul. You have a really good personality. And then from there, once you start building your worth, then you find your worth in other areas or other things. But I think sometimes that really is the core issue is that we don't even see our worth. And I would just speak from the 17, 18-year-old self, that I was. And I know back then, I definitely didn't think that I had as much worth as I have now, just simply because of trauma that I grew up in. And so I say that to say that sometimes it can be hard because, we're all raised differently. We all have different backgrounds, but I think that there comes a point in your life where you're either going to use it as an excuse and say, well, that's just how I am. That's just how I was born. And that's just how I was conditioned. Or you're going to say, I'm going to do something about it and I'm going to move forward to heal your family, heal your legacy, heal the people around you. Because I feel like every time that you heal yourself, you heal people around you kind of notice. And going back to our last episode, they pay attention. They pay attention to what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, for sure, 1,000%. And then that's crazy that you said that you grew up feeling like you didn't have no worth. I grew up, I immediately knew I had worth because I was different from all the other kids because I had a skill set that was just undeniable. Like everybody seen my skill set. Everybody seen me drawing. Everybody seen how artistic I was. So I immediately knew. And not only that, I was successful at creating art. I was successful at showcasing my art. This was at a young age. So I knew I immediately had value. I immediately knew somebody was always going to need me for something because that's how I grew up. People always needed my skill set. So that's just crazy how different dynamics you are, like no matter what, and how you grew up, and how you grew up is how you act on certain things and live life. So that's crazy.
Yeah. And trauma plays such a big, important part in our life. But I know this is going to be like a different topic, but maybe we can go into that in a different episode. But I think that the reason that kids or people that are biracial or that are two different cultures, they always grow up with this experience of not being enough in one area, not being enough in another area, is because of their experiences. Not everyone has that experience, and that's amazing if you didn't. But I just know for a lot of people that are from two different cultures, they always feel like, oh, well, I'm not Hispanic enough, and I'm not American enough, or I'm not American enough, and I'm not Black enough. And so I think that that's a whole nother struggle that, like I said, you can either let it define you and just say, let's just say, everybody has a different journey. So some people will say, oh, because of how I grew up, I'm just going to be this one culture and I hate the other part of me. And that wasn't me. I've never hated like where I came from and the two sides of me. But I definitely want to say that growing up, it was kind of challenging because I had to navigate, well, who am I when I go out in the world and I have to speak English? And then who am I when I'm around my family and I have to present myself, to my Latino family that sometimes let's just be honest. Your family will make fun of you and say like you're not Hispanic enough. And so, like I said, I think that there comes a point where you kind of have to you have to dictate your own self-worth, because if not,
Somebody
nobody
else
else will
will.
see it.
No,
Nobody else will see your
They'll see
self-worth.
it, but they gonna dictate it like this.
Yeah, you're right.
They ain't gonna
Yeah.
give a fuck.
Yeah.
So
But so knowing your worth, and then how do you raise your prices in business after you know your worth? Because I think that's a whole nother thing.
that's a whole nother video. I don't even.
Oh, you want to go into that in a whole nother video?
But again, it's being successful at your business, keeping track of your numbers, and what is your value to yourself. My trick was, my whole goal is to be a stay-at-home dad and to take care of my family. So now that I know that, and I know since moving from Ohio to Arizona, I know what type of lifestyle we want to live. And I always tell you this, I keep a stream of income per bill.
Which is really smart.
House, stream of income, kids, stream of income, and have fun, stream of income. And that's how I live my life, and that's how I price my business. Because that's all I need. Like I foresee myself being a multimillionaire, but it's not something like I'm like super thirsty of. Like right now, the fad on Instagram is, oh, I made this amount of money, I made this amount of money. Like, but did you take care of your family? Like,
And
that's
there's
the
more
most important
problems
thing.
that come with more money.
Way more problems that come. And I love the way I'm living right now. So I'm like, I'm set, and I'm just like constantly figuring out how can I take care of my family and also have my free time and my time, because my time is way more valuable than any amount of dollars.
No, that's so true. Because I even started thinking about that recently, and like I said, every day there's going to be a new level that you're getting to, right?
Right.
And so at the end of the day, you kind of have to always, just test the waters, or like, what's the word? Like, just check the temperature and see where you're at. Are you getting too comfortable, or are you still dreaming bigger? And so I think for me, like I said, I'm still going through unconscious things that I'm trying to unlearn. But for me, money has just always been one of the hardest things that I battle with, because I grew up with, my mom kind of saving pennies because she didn't grow up with a lot of money. And then my dad on the other side, where he was like, we live one life, so you might as well spend your money and live the way you want. And so there's a beauty to both sides, but I think as a woman, I've just learned over time that it's not a bad thing to like money. It's not a bad thing to make money for your family, and it's not a bad thing to want more for yourself, because at the end of the day, only you know your reasons for why you're doing it. And as long as you can sleep at night, that's the only thing that should matter to you. And so that's something that I even started realizing with my goals, where I'm like, am I getting too comfortable? Am I dreaming small? Am I just settling? And so that's something that I've just kind of been reminding myself, where I think sometimes when you start a business, you're kind of like, oh, well, I should only charge this much because that's only what people are going to pay me, which is not true. When you know your worth, and when you know how to position yourself, meaning you know that someone else is not going to be able to find you because of the years that you've had in this experience, because of, so many other factors, from your personality to the customer service to the way that you do things. And once you know that you're not replaceable, people can pay you whatever it is that you're worth it, and they will say yes, as long as you know how to sell yourself. But it goes back to understanding your worth, and you have to stand on business, because I feel like a lot of us say that, but then we go back. I know I've done that, where I'm like, oh, I'm never going to work with a client less than $1,000. And then a client comes and they're like, oh, I can only afford $500. And I'm like, okay. And so it's just a reminder that
never settle.
Don't settle. Just don't settle. I wanted to bring up this hot topic. So there was this hot topic. I don't know if you guys remember, at the end of every episode, we would always bring up a hot topic from Reddit. And so there was this hot topic on Reddit that said, is entrepreneurship worth it?
Depends on your definition. Like I said, what I was reiterating before, some people don't know how to scale. So when they don't know how to scale, they feel like they're wasting their time, and then they get frustrated. And then the boring stuff, which is being consistency, people don't like being bored. So once people start getting bored, It's like, that's why it's only for the top 1%.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why only the top 1% survive, because it's not for everybody.
And you said something important, but it's also how you look at things. Everything is perception and
Perspective.
or did I say that? Perception,
But our
perspective.
perception, yes. Yeah.
Everything is perspective. And it goes back to, if you're the type of person that always feels like you're wasting time by working on your business, you're never going to make it. I'm sorry.
You're going to be miserable as hell.
I'm sorry, but I'm just going to be the first one to tell you, you're never going to make it.
You're going to be mad
And lately,
miserable.
I've just been realizing that every single minute that I put towards my business is an investment. Even if I don't make a single dollar off of it, it's teaching me something. It's helping me build character. And so I'm reading this book, and like I said, it's like stuff that we've already talked about on these podcast episodes before, but sometimes it's like the smallest nuggets that we forget. And so something that he said in the book was, you know, so many people are so busy chasing success or what their idea of success looks like, but who's building character? You know, it goes back to those little things, you know. Are you honest with yourself? I actually saw a tweet the other day, and I want to pull it up if I still have it. But I want to go back to that question where at the end of the day, it's all perspective. So if you feel like, hey, I'm going to go into entrepreneurship so that way I can make a double of what I was making in my 9 to 5, then I would say that's worth it to me. And for me, entrepreneurship has been so worth it because it's not even just about the money that I'm making, but it's about what it's teaching me as a person that I would have never learned in corporate. Let's just be honest. If I was still in corporate, I would probably still have the same habits, go home, not work on anything else, just chill, just relax, just lay around. And let's just be honest, that's not who I am. That's not the life I want to live. And so sometimes you have to remind yourself or go back to your why. Like, why did you even start?
Start in the first place. Yeah.
But let me pull up this tweet.
Yeah, and I'll even piggyback off of that. The whole reason why I started my business is so I can be a stay-at-home dad. COVID hit before it.
I remember that.
Even,
You
I was
wanted more
like,
time with the
this
kids.
is kind of like perfect. it just worked out for the better
Yeah.
too. And not only that, like I get to dictate and control my time, which is the biggest. I feel like the biggest piece. Or it's not even a piece. It's the biggest It's the most expensive non-physical thing on earth. Time.
Yeah. And that's something that I've realized recently is how much we don't value time.
Oh man.
I feel like when you work for somebody else, you kind of just look at the hours.
Just like just
I know
clocking in, clocking out.
Yeah, and I know some people are like, oh, well, I just got home and I spent 2 hours on TikTok. And I'm like, dang, like you could have done so many other things in those 2 hours.
Not even that. It's like, remember so first of all, you got to wake up. Then you got to get ready. Then you got to drive. Then you got to get there. Spend whatever amount of time.
It's almost like 2 hours that you're, and I don't want to say wasting because
No, it's wasting.
Everybody's definition of waste is different.
That's
but
definitely wasting time. And having
at the end of the
pointless
day-
meetings, like I used to hate that shit.
But see, this is what I mean. Like pointless meetings to who? Because it can be
Yeah.
a really valuable meeting to someone else.
To me, it was pointless to me.
Yes, and that's why I said at the end of the day, you just have to find what is worth your time.
Facts.
If you're sitting at meetings and you're like, this is the most miserable time of my life, I don't want to be here, then why are you there? And I'm just going to be honest with you guys. The reason I got laid off from my corporate 9 to 5 was because I wasn't doing a good job. I didn't like it. I did not like the call center. I hated it. I hated calling people to say, you got a bill past due.
But it
It
builds
taught me
character.
so much about customer service, but it also taught me what I didn't want to do. I don't want to be sitting in an office for 8 hours calling people that they're past due on their credit cards. That's just not what I want to do. I knew that I could do so much more. I didn't know how. I didn't have a plan. I just knew that there was a bigger plan meant for me. And I took a risk on myself and I started translations, and then one thing led to another. And it just goes to show that sometimes you don't have to have the end vision in mind. Sometimes you just got to take a risk and say, let's see what happens and do it. And if it works out, it works out. If not, at the end of the day, at least you can say that you tried. And that's a step further than so many people. But I wanted to read this quote because it said, to grow into a better person, start with the willingness to see yourself honestly, not to judge or to condemn, but to understand, to notice when you kind of listen better, to admit when pride got in the way, to apologize without explaining. Growth has nothing to do with performing for others. It has everything to do with telling yourself the truth and choosing to do better. I love that so much because I'm going to be honest with you guys. How many of us lie to ourselves? I know I do that to myself all the time. I'm going to wake up early at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym, and then you don't wake up. And I feel like it's so easy to lie to ourselves. But then the minute we lie to somebody else, we feel bad. Why is that? So it's just food for thought to leave you guys with, that at the end of the day, treat yourself like you would treat a friend. Treat yourself like you would treat like a romantic partner. Are you comfortable with lying to yourself? Are you comfortable with saying, oh, you're going to do this, and then you don't do it?
Some people are. Some people, that's all they know.
And I want to say this, because now I keep seeing a lot of TikToks of like, we're sick of these self-development podcasts where people just want to get better and better. Like, it's so annoying. Well, don't listen to it then. Maybe you're just not the person that's meant to be listening to it. And I've been seeing, I don't know why, like an influx of TikToks of people kind of just bashing podcasts of self-development. But let's just be honest. What do you see in the world nowadays? People drinking, people partying, people just indulging in self-intoxicating habits. How cool is it that we want to better ourselves? I just think it's really cool.
And share our stories.
And at the end of the day, it's all perspective. And so I want to leave you guys with, at the end of the day, anything that you put in your mind is how you view the world. So if you think that spending 20 minutes into your business is a waste of time, then it's a waste of time. Other people will say, that's the best 20 minutes that I just invested into myself. Everything is perspective.
No, for sure.
But is that the end of the episode? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. Well, that is it for today's episode. I think we had a really good episode to start the year. Again, don't forget to comment, subscribe, like, share. Follow us on Instagram, because that's where we post our short clips, so you guys can share us, tell your friends about us, and you guys can listen to us on Anchor. And we will see you guys